Our special guest has arrived. Our guy Steven Nelson. Speaking of Eugene, is here at Dodgers
Yeah.
Broadcast Clown. I love the subhead there.
Thank
Steven,
you.
this you're getting a night off here. We appreciate you joining us.
Yeah,
How are you?
I'm well, guys. First of all, Anthony, good to virtually connect with you finally.
Yes,
Jeff,
sir.
always appreciate the Vine, man. We're doing great. Mo, Rick Monday and I were talking before Game 6 of the championship series, like 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It was the longest hour of the season,
Yeah.
and it was like we were just looking around, like, damn, like this game needs to start. And
Yes.
I find myself here today being like, this is going to be the longest week of the season too, because I think everyone's just kind of raring to go for Friday night and just want to get this thing underway. But I guess things every domino fell right for Major League Baseball. They get Dodgers Yankees, and then they get this whole week of buildup, a la Super Bowl. As have all that time to build the hype. So hopefully, the action on the field meets it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I texted you after this one ended. I know what it felt like to just watch this game. And then I was thinking about somebody who had to announce that and be present in the moment for
Yeah.
every second of all six of those games. I mean, like, I cannot imagine. It was exhausting as a fan. I think the announcer is the only person who's more exhausted after the game than the diehard fan at home.
Man, I don't actually. You might be right. I don't know though. Like if you bleed blue, like some of these postseason games, man. Whatever sport you're playing, you're watching a playoff game. Like when it's all said and done, like you feel like you lost a pound of flesh,
Yeah.
right? Just like
Oh, for sure.
the emotions and the stress that go into it, like living and dying on every pitch, and like just I guess to give you like my perspective during the game, like when there's I can't remember the exact situation, but there was like a two-strike pitch that was borderline. And if it goes the Dodgers way, it's strike three. And then instead the guy ends up getting a knock. And then you're thinking in your head, like, ah, damn, like if they would have gotten strike three, like the Mets aren't scoring any runs. Like that's what I'm thinking in my head. So like you're spot on. Just like you're truly living and dying, living and dying. And there are definitely more moments where you feel like you're actually on the verge of death than others. But yeah, it's and then I wake up the next morning like, damn, like was I really yelling that much? Like I need some tea. So yeah, these games are a trip for sure.
Steven, thanks for joining us, and great to
Yeah.
meet you also. Um, one of the things that's really impressed me about this club during
Mm,
this run is they have genuinely seemed to take on this us against the world mentality. And
yeah.
some, there's one team, two teams, three teams every postseason in every sport, that says that they're taking on that sort of mentality.
Yeah.
Some of it is clearly see through,
Yeah.
and you feel like some of it sometimes is genuine, but this one feels genuine. And for a club with these kinds of expectations, with all these marquee names, and yada 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 with this club, right?
Yeah.
Is it real?
Yeah, that's a great question, Anthony, because I just think, like, honestly, when as you're asking that question, one of the first things I thought of was when Tom Brady was still playing with the Pats, and he had that, the Super Bowl, post Super Bowl speech where it was, basically like, oh, they said we couldn't do it, we were too old, and we're like, who said that? No one has said
Nobody said that.
literally, no one has questioned the Patriots dynasty, Tom. But like as professional athletes, like those are the things that you have to do to get yourself into that competitive space. And so it's like whatever you got to do to get yourself there. And I imagine that there are a lot of non-Dodger fans who are like rolling their eyes at like, oh my God, like the Dodgers trying to turn themselves into this some underdog story. But then like if you actually paid attention to this Dodger season, like this of all years is the year that they make it to the World Series. This team, this group with 24 guys with arms that have fallen off that can't pitch. You know what I mean? Like this team made it. So for this clubhouse, what I'll say about it is this, like, and I've obviously only been with the organization the last 2 years. But I was talking with, Alana Rizzo just today, and Alana was there for, those early runs of this kind of, Guggenheim era, let's
Yeah.
say. And I said, Alana, like, I know this didn't happen last year where, the players have their own plane for the postseason. And Alana's like, that never happened for us. So these guys, and Max Muncy alluded to this when he was talking with Vassay after the clincher the other night, where he's like, we all kind of got together as a group and said, let's just be boys for 1 month. Like, I'm not going to say you're a bad dad or a bad husband or a boyfriend or whatever, but you lock in and be a great teammate. And let's get in these trenches for the next 3 weeks, win 11 games, and live forever. And the buy in from this group, and the buy-in goes back, more than just, these recent weeks. It's been pretty astounding. So I think kind of rallying around the resilience, top to bottom has been a true, like, um, how do I say this? Like, it just has bonded them, it's validated them as a group, and it's been really cool to watch from afar.
Yeah. As you're looking ahead now to this series, Dodgers, Yankees, we talked
Yeah.
about all the things that MLB wants.
Yeah.
The big storyline, of course, today is the Dodgers make the decision to go to Jack Flaherty in game one.
Yeah.
Doing the math, it felt like you could go Buehler or you could go Flaherty. Yamamoto in game two felt like it made the most sense.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a knock against whoever they didn't choose here.
Mhm.
But from your perspective, the decision to go Flaherty in game one, give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I think had game 5 not gone down the way it did, no one would be blinking an eye at
Right.
this decision. I mean, truthfully, so it's like a little bit of recency bias. I want to say, like, from a negative standpoint for those people who are questioning it. Now, I'm not saying it's not a valid question, because I agree. Like, you could have convinced me of any which way here. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like, I could see your argument for doing that. But for Jack, like, I just think that as long as he's feeling right, like, and they wouldn't have made this decision if not, then you just hope that that's game 5 was just an aberration. Like, it was very clear from Jump Street that he did not have anything
Right.
in that one.
Immediately.
Just immediately.
Yeah.
I remember when Mo, like, honestly, like, the second bout of the game, Mo and I looked at each other, we're like, "Ooh." But that's baseball, right? It happens. His previous outing, like, oh hell yeah, like, this guy's an ace, right? So, and the true answer is probably somewhere in the middle.
It was
So,
interesting too, Stephen, because like in a game like that with those kinds of stakes and the way he was missing, like the fastball just sort of like flailing away. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, well, maybe maybe the lights are too bright for this guy. But
Right.
he had just proven days before that they weren't.
Yeah, no,
And so it
and
was just, it was interesting.
that is not a question I ever ask with regards to Jack. Is like,
Yeah.
is this dude ready for it? Like, he's just I always forget the cursing rules on this podcast, Jeff. So, but I'll avoid it. Like, the best way I can put it with Jack is, like, he's one of the guys that has some fu on this
Yeah.
team, right?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
and like, for a long time during the season, I think we'd all agree, like, this team was lacking a little bit of that. And from the day he arrived, he added that edge. Like, even, like, kind of not didn't rub anybody the wrong way, but he definitely made some teammates, I think, and coaches kind of step back and be like, oh, whoa, like, this dude's wired a little bit different.
The
Yeah.
That's
intensity.
good, and that's good. So I don't question his wiring. I really just think it was like a really bad night on a really big stage, and that leads to a lot more questions.
For sure.
I mean, the last time you saw Walker, you're like, oh my God, that is the closest we've seen Walker to being Walker. And so now you're like, it should have been him. So again, it's just sort of the recency bias. It's a, but the fact remains is, like, it's whoever you threw game 1, inning 1 was going to be a question. The
Yeah.
first inning has been a problem for all 3 of the Dodgers healthy starters. The first inning has not been a question for the Yankee offense. So, like, you could have picked any one of those guys, thrown them on the mound, and I think the conversation would have been relatively similar as we get closer to Friday.
Yeah, it's funny to talk about the FU that Flaherty has, because when Flaherty was announced, there were some people that were like, "Oh, I thought they would have gone with Walker, MF, Buehler," and I was like, they got two guys that I think you can use that
Yeah.
description on
Yeah.
both of these
Like,
guys.
so what I'll say with the Walker side of it, Jeff, is like, because he has, like, you know, um, big time worlds, like, a
Yeah,
longer World Series track record of experience. Like, that's where I'm like, okay, like that is another kind of feather in Walker's cap in this debate, who goes game one. But again, I am not privy. None of us are privy to the conversations with the training staff, or how guys are feeling, and so on and so forth. Like, just the amount of time and effort that are put into meetings before making this decision is, like,
yeah.
mind boggling. So, um, hopefully it plays out. Hopefully it plays out the way the Dodgers hope.
Yeah. We got a couple people that want to ask you questions, so I want to get to that in
Oh,
just a couple of minutes. Good
okay.
questions. They're all positive. Don't worry about it,
It's all
Steven.
right.
It's,
I can
it's
handle
positive
it.
vibes only. But I mean, looking at this series,
Yeah.
it feels like there's so many ways that this could go from a starting pitching perspective, from an
Yeah.
offensive perspective, right? You've got guys like Mookie, who is going through a slump, busts out of it. Teoscar, 0 for 18, big hits in game 6. Will Smith, the slump he was going through, big hit in game 6. Tommy Edman has been who he is.
Yeah.
When you step back and you look at kind of all the pieces that are going, like, is there a part of you that believes the Dodgers still have another level to go to in the World Series? Or is it, oh, if they could just put the pitching of the first round with the hitting of the second round? Like, what is it that you believe deep down about this team and how they're going to respond to the biggest test of the season?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, the best case scenario in my mind would just be a continuation of what we saw from the championship series, because that was as complete as the offense has looked. I mean, all year, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to think the amount of time that they had their full roster of guys healthy, and then adding Tommy and getting Max back and Mookie and so on and so forth. So, like that was just a juggernaut of performance. It's a totally different pitching staff, obviously, now that they're going to be facing, like, Garrett Cole is still in that upper echelon. Clark Schmidt's, I think he's like their new Michael King. He's kind of in that same thing, like, where, like, if you followed the Yankees, you knew who Michael King and Clark Schmidt were, but then now, everybody really knows who Michael King was, given the year they had in San Diego. Clark Schmidt is kind of in that same area. Carlos Rodon has had a ton of success, and then Luis Gil's, maybe the rookie of the year, right? So, like, but then again, shoot, man, now I think about that, like, the Mets staff was rolling when they were going in that series. So, like, I don't want to pump the Yankee tires too much there. So, um, I I guess what I'll say about this series is this, Jeff. Like, my expectation is that all the megastars are going to be megastars. Like, I
Yeah.
just think Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Giancarlo Stanton loves playing at Dodger Stadium, and he loves the postseason. Like, I think all three of those guys are going to go off. I think Show and Mook will both have their moments. I expect them to be stars. So then it's, okay, do the Dodgers get good Teoscar? How it, like, is Freddie? We'll see how Freddie feels night
Yeah.
one. So it's Will Smith, Max. It's all the quote unquote supplemental pieces that will decide this thing. It's like, is Will Smith going to go off for 3 home runs in this series, or is it going to be Austin Wells, who, like, couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat for most of the ALCS, but then he runs into one late in the series? Does that get him going? And then he goes on a tear, and then
Yeah.
he's the World Series MVP, right?
Yep.
Like, it's going to be those, like, you know, um, bottom of the lineup afterthought players that ultimately are going to tip the scales in this World Series, I think, because the stars, basically balance each other out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to a few of these. Some super chats we've got. Brian says, Steven, you make us proud in the OC. Are you still in HB? My kids went to Fountain Valley and Edison.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Yeah.
what that
Hey,
is. Go Marina, go
nice,
Blue.
Jeff. Way to go, bro.
We're just guessing here. I know some towns down there. I'm a Ventura County guy, not an
Uh,
OC guy, but we
I
know a
was
little
gonna
bit. So
shoot. I was gonna say, I didn't know you knew the Sunset League like that. No, it's yeah. No, Brian, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Like, I am still in Huntington. When I moved back, like, we talked about moving a little closer to Dodger Stadium, but, like, um house shopping in LA or really anywhere in California these days is just a nightmare. So
Good luck.
we're still in HB, and we'll figure out how long that is. But yeah, Marina High School. Yeah, that's where I went. Me and let's see, Jake Bowers.
You got to be on the famous alumni
Dude,
list at this point, though, right?
I don't know that I am actually.
I mean,
That's a great.
I looked up the U of O famous alumni when they were doing some guest pickers. I'm just saying that list isn't as long as I thought. So at a high school level, Steven, there's no chance you're outside of the top 5, maybe top 10.
No, dude, Natalie Nakase, new coach of like the Golden State Valkyries, is a legend. Cherokee Parks, that's a throwback for
Okay,
some
that's a
of
nice one.
Oh,
I'll give you
wow.
that one.
Cherokee used to live down the street. He was awesome, like tatted up to his ears.
Yeah.
Vanessa Bryant. Vanessa's probably
Okay.
like kind
She
of
can get one. She's one. Yep, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just saying, we're not at a ton right now,
dude,
Steven.
Yeah, this is a deep cut for Dodgers fans. Justin Sellers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
More
wow.
tattoos.
Exactly. Seller. I had bio with Sellers. He was an absolute riot. But anyway, that's enough Marina talk. I don't want to take us totally off the rails.
Pizza in the Box says, Steven, thank you for your Dodgers win the pennant call. Also love your movie references. You and Karos have been gold this season.
But hey, thanks, man. You know what EK was most happy about was like our record together in the booth was really strong. I guess. So
can we get you guys in, even if it's a fake booth for the World Series? Can we just get you guys? Can we simulate something?
Honestly, Jeff, like that's not insane.
We could send you a couple mics, maybe set you up in a living room, put some cameras up just for fun.
Should EK honestly just sit there, just sit in between me and Mo, and let's see if the magic works. I actually like where your head's at there.
I like it. We got one last one from Laura here. Laura's a faithful listener. She says, "What's your dream call for this series? If I was doing your job, mine would have been a Freddie Freeman walk-off to win the World Series. That would be the dream scenario for her to call. I imagine part of your job, it's like you almost can't let yourself get to that place of imagining moments. Is that fair?"
Okay, it's fair. So I'll first, Laura, that is an amazing dream. And if I would love to live out your dream, let's just put it that way, because that means the Dodgers win the World Series. Jeff, to your point, like in Game 6, like really the entirety of this postseason, I have been superstitious to a level I didn't know was possible. So like I refused to let myself like believe that it was actually going to happen, because I thought, like, if I think the Dodgers are going to win, they're absolutely going to lose. And so Game 6 is going along, and then there are 2 outs in the 9th inning, and I'm like, I have not thought a single second about what I'm going to say here. And so it just kind of, it wasn't really anything all that special or original, but it just kind of came from the heart there. And so in the immediate aftermath, it's like, damn, maybe I should have had something ready to go. But at the same time, I was, I'm fine kind of like just letting it rip like that. I think if I were to give a legitimate answer to Laura's question, like, I think anytime you can have a walk, like Joe Carter, you think about how that call kind of reverberates even still. Touch them all, Joe. You'll never hit another bigger one, a bigger home run in your life. Like, like that. That's that's the dream. Per the question, that is the actual dream. So I'll take Freddie. I'll take Show. I'll take Mookie. I'll take Kike. I'll take Munt. I don't care. Anybody with a World Series walk-off. Let's go.
If Show does it, your call lives in history in a different country too.
Right. Which, and as a country, obviously, that's very near and dear to my heart. Like, that would be, and ever since you signed this year, like all the Japanese media members who follow the team, like, they come up to me and they're like, hey, like, you're Japanese. Like, do you have your Japanese call? And I was like, honestly, like, it's an English speaking audience. Like, I can't go, I can't say something that nobody's going to understand, because then it like loses its luster when I could be like, hold on, Mo, or hold on, Oral. Let me explain what I just said. Like,
love it.
Anyway.
Well, hey, we appreciate the time. Are you still going to be on the radio for the World Series?
Yes, it'll be Mo and me again. Sorry.
No, hey, look, it sounds like you got 2 Series W's under your belt so far, Steven.
Wait, hold on. There we go. Sorry.
I was gonna say you got a couple series victories under your belt so far. So I mean, it's Karros can take his regular season record, and we could set that aside because we got an NLCS with you and Mo. We'll take that.
Yeah. No, hey, so I'll keep wearing the same underwear. I'll keep wearing my annoying Hawaiian shirts, Aloha shirts. But that's been one of the superstitions. I have to wear an Aloha shirt. When I haven't, they've lost. So I'll keep doing my part, even though I have nothing to do with it.
Hey, we all think we do more so than
we don't
anybody else.
believe that.
You're a lot closer to it than we are. So, hey, Steven, we appreciate the time. Enjoy a couple days off and best of luck throughout the World Series. And hopefully we'll have you back on in a couple weeks celebrating a World Series victory.
Hey, Jeff, anytime, man. I really do appreciate the time, and it's always so much fun hanging out with you guys. So we'll do it again soon. Hopefully after I'm not even gonna say it. Can't say it. I'm not gonna bring myself to say it.
Okay. Fair.
After some good baseball games.
We love it. We love it. That is Steven Nelson, Dodgers play-by-play guy on the radio this World Series. Steven, enjoy the night. Thank you, sir.
You too, guys. See you.
All right. There we go. Southern California zone. I just love having that guy around because he's just a good dude. Just a good dude. And I'll tell this story real quick. The first time we ever had Steven Nelson on the show, some people that have been with us for a while might know this story. The reason we had him on is because when Apple TV first started covering baseball 2 or 3 years ago, he was one of the guys that was calling a Dodger game. And so we had him reached out. He had done some MLB Network stuff, obviously. And we're like, hey, would you come on? He's like, great. I mean, he could not have been more generous or gracious with his time. Complimentary after the fact. He came on the show. We finished. He chatted with me for like 25 minutes after the show. He had been in Eugene doing some sports production stuff and just chatting with me. Super nice, super kind, followed up afterwards, super complimentary of everything. Like as good a dude as I've interacted with at any level. And what I love, Anthony, is that when he comes on a show like ours, and I would say even on the broadcast, like you can tell. Like I think the default is like, I bet that guy's a good dude. And I would just say 125% of whatever you think of him, my experience has been that and more. So that was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, you can feel it. I mean, the vibe is real. Like you can, people are able to sense when something's, a little fake or whatever. But no, that's real talk right there. That was fun.
Yeah.